Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to a horrific episode of Random Trek. I am your scared to death captain, Christopher Ingle, joined as always by my fearful first officer, Brennan, the mystical Mar. Brennan, you like jump scares?
Not really.
I don't either. But today we're going to talk about a lot of them because it was attempted a lot. We're taking a look at season 3, episode 5, Impulse from Star Trek Enterprise.
Hmm.
This one was actually written by future Picard showrunner Terry Matalas, and is
Ah,
basically it's basically a zombie episode of Enterprise. What did you think going into this one, Brennan?
winter is coming. Mhm. No, I had seen this one because last year I watched the entire Xindi arc,
Mhm.
and I remembered this one quite distinctly. It's definitely is one that is not easily forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was excited to do it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not much of a horror person. That's not really my thing.
Hmm.
So I found a lot of what they were trying to do tropey. But I do applaud that we got a horror episode in Star Trek, which
Hmm.
has happened before. But to get a full-on kind of alien or Walking Dead kind of thing, that's rare. And so I applaud them for that. But let's get into this episode, and we'll kind of figure our way through it. So we open up to a cold open where Archer and Phlox are practically shoving a very distraught T'Pol uh, onto a biobed. She's freaking out and crazy, and she's threatening to kill them and just injure them. And Phlox sedates her, and they put her inside of the chamber, the biobed chamber that we have. And that's the cold open. So right away, by the way, first of all, great cold open. Short, simple, and you're going, what is happening here?
Yeah, yeah.
I like that. Keeps us going. But didn't we get the trope of, what was it, 24 hours earlier?
Yeah, we've
Uh,
seen that quite a bit.
yeah.
Yes.
So the Enterprise receives a distress call from the Vulcan cruiser Saleya, and they find the ship adrift in an asteroid belt that's filled with trillium ore.
Named, of
Uh,
course, after the mountain on
Mount
Vulcan.
Saleya, right? Archer decides that he's going to send a shuttle pod in to investigate the Saleya because the Enterprise is too big to maneuver among all these asteroids.
Hmm.
En route to Paul lets them know that the other members of the away team, that the Vankara, which we met earlier in the season, had been sent into the Expanse to find the Saleya. They were supposed to go after the Saleya. But the crew started to attack each other, and the ship was destroyed in the process. Now, we saw that earlier this season.
Hmm.
But Tucker and Mayweather decide that this is a good opportunity to mine trillium ore because trillium ore can be used to protect the hull from the spatial distortions that the Expanse is known for.
Yeah.
So this is very good. So Reed, T'Pol, and Archer and a Mako. I can't remember which Mako was, but I know they have a Mako.
Stevens or something like that.
Yeah. It's I don't remember. I have to look it up. Anyway, the Mako go aboard the Saleya and are immediately attacked by zombie-like Vulcans. As they're going through the ship trying to figure out what's happening, T'Pol starts to show some of the same effects that are seen in the other Vulcans. So our
Hawkins is his name.
Hawkins. Okay. Archer and the rest of the away team have to fight their way back to the engineering section so that way they can reroute bulkhead control and get back to the shuttle.
Hmm.
Um, they start discussing a general override, which would unlock all the bulkheads, but it would also shut down the warp core, causing a problem. They could risk a warp breach. T'Pol accuses Archer of wanting to kill all the Vulcans.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, Tucker and Mayweather, they get the ore, but their shuttle pod is damaged in the process. When they return to the Enterprise, they start repairs. Meanwhile, things get really hairy aboard the ship, and the Enterprise crew kind of becomes trapped as the Vulcan crew begins to gas the engineering section, which forces Reed to have to pull the override switch. Um, Archer's team does make it back to the shuttle, and they make it back to the Saleya before it explodes, but the docking clamps are stuck. They're going to have one more piece of tension. Tucker and Mayweather arrive on a second shuttle and shoot out the clamps so they can get away, and the shuttles depart as the Saleya is destroyed. So back on the Enterprise, what we end up discovering is that Phlox treats the symptoms, and we now know that Trellium in small doses for short periods of time is okay to Vulcans, but otherwise it's a neurotoxin to them. It's disruptive them, and all of this in this asteroid belt caused severe problems. And the Saleya crew was beyond saving. T'Pol will recover, but it'll take her some time. So we find out that there was enough to shield the forward hull. But Archer notes that it's going to cause problems for T'Pol. So he orders all the ore to be stored in a biohazard locker until a cure can be found. And a really interesting ending to this, we see T'Pol laying in bed, and we have one more kind of jump scare. But she wakes up from a dream. We find that she's going to have a long road to recovery. And this has ramifications down the line for T'Pol when we talk about Trellium. But Brennan, how we've had a few opportunities in the past to talk about horror and Star Trek. Thinking, of course, of the Gorn when we had the Gorn in Strange New Worlds.
Yes.
How do we feel about zombies? Star Trek zombies?
It's a little bit odd because I know that the Vulcans have lost control of their emotions. Turning them into zombies? Okay. I guess they've all gone Lord of the Flies or something.
A little bit.
So interesting, but I don't mind it. I mean, zombies are a bit of an overdone trope in many things. But Vulcan zombies, Vulcans having lost emotional control and degenerating into complete animals, it makes you wonder what the Vulcans were like before Surak. How horribly violent they were to each other.
Right.
It's an interesting idea.
Again, zombies not really my thing. It's not that they're scary. I just find them tropey.
Yeah.
But this was interesting because of all the species to choose to do this, you choose the Vulcans. And it shows a potential of what the Vulcans can be. I always like it when we get the Vulcans not acting Vulcan, when we see the potential that's within them, the strength, the energy, the anger, all of that. These are base emotions.
And
oh, go ahead.
Delaney Bullock was amazing in this episode. Like, in terms of her performance, I mean, she really knocks it out of the park here with losing her control. And I think that I never really connected with T'Pol in the first two seasons. But by the third and fourth season, where she got to explore more range, that's when I went, wow, Jolene Bullock is doing a great job.
She really is.
And I think in this episode, she nails it. That paranoia, that losing control, I love it.
Yep. I agree with you. I also have to comment the set design here. Now, it does look just like a beat up ship, true. But the lighting that goes with it is what makes this a horror episode. And of course, the music. You combine those elements. This reminds you so much of Aliens or, again, zombie
The lighting
movies
is very alien.
and you don't know what's coming out. You don't know what's coming next. And when the Vulcans are coming, The makeup work that they do to them as well makes them menacing looking. They're pustules and they're kind of very Data-like color.
And gaunt
Very
faces and sunken eyes and
yeah. Um, this is actually a really well done horror episode.
those moments of light where you can see what's going on and then it goes dark. It's like, whoa.
Yeah. It's definitely a really well done episode of Enterprise for its darkest season.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's so many moments in this season that is very, very dark in both tone and presentation. This is one of those where we got a full blown horror episode. And Terry Metalis, we see the potential that he has down the line in Picard.
Oh gosh,
Uh,
I mean the alien and aliens influences on Picard are definitely we see it here.
oh yeah. And darkness is something that he's used to. I don't know if you ever saw the 12 Monkeys
No, I
television
didn't.
series.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously a very dark movie, very, very dark. And Picard, season 3 of Picard was extremely dark.
Yeah,
So
and
we
also
could
the
see his.
alien influences on the Borg Queen and things like
Mhm.
that.
Oh yeah, it's all in there,
Hmm.
100%. So this is definitely a positive note for Metalis, and I think this relies heavily on that design and writing from Metalis, as well as the performance from Jolene Blaylock. But
Mm.
I got to also give recognition to Archer, because through this whole thing, she's accusing Archer of, you want to kill us all, you want to kill the
Yeah,
Vulcan, and never once does he lose it. He stays calm and cool.
which is an interesting reversal if you think about it.
He has to be logical, and that's how he talks to her.
It's like the humans and the Vulcans almost have to switch places in this episode.
When the moment I can think of right off the bat is when, um, okay, so in the beginning they're attacked, and the Mako says switching to kill setting because stun isn't working, and to Paul reminds him when she's still with her right mind, this is a rescue mission, and
Hmm.
Archer agrees, stick to stun. So later, as they're fighting back, she accuses him, as she's starting to lose it, accuses him of wanting to kill everyone. And he says, if I did that, why did I order all of the phasers to be on stun? It's not logical. In that same tone I just gave. And it reaches her briefly. I mean, it's a great moment for Archer to see that calm, cool, and collected captain. You can't have the yin without the yang. And the yin and the yang in this episode is definitely the affected to Paul versus the calm, cool, collected Archer. And it fits and works so very
Hmm.
well. Otherwise, there aren't a lot of surprises to this episode.
Not really, no.
Their attempts at jump scares are a little poor, but it's a 45-minute episode.
Mm.
They're kind of moving a little fast. I get that. But this has ramifications down the line for us, which I love. We know this affects T'Pol. Later on down the line, we see that T'Pol begins to take liquid Trellium as a way to stay focused. It's essentially drug addiction.
Exactly.
And it's really rough to see her like that, but this is the start of that.
Yeah,
This
and the
is what
stuff
affects
that they
them.
do with her character,
Mm-hmm.
moving on from this point, is amazing.
Yep. Yep. It's a good episode. It's a lot of fun. It is a good horror episode. It's not a great horror episode, not like The Gorn for me in Strange New Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but it's good for all the reasons that I've said. And I definitely recommend it, especially if you're someone who's into horror. It's a good
Mm-hmm.
horror episode. You can watch it, no problem.
It is. It doesn't necessarily add anything big as far as the plot of the season, but it's certainly enjoyable.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. Well, next week. It's movie night on the ship again. Movie
Oh,
night on the ship. In honor of its 40th anniversary, we are taking a look at The Last Starfighter.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we will be joined by our friend Ryan Permison, who is the host of the And I Quote podcast. And they just got done reviewing this. So we're going to have him on to review it with us and talk about it with some fresh eyes next week.
I'll
And
try
then
not to be too long-winded.
and then the week after that, I believe we go to, is it Strange New Worlds or Discovery? I always
It's
flip it.
Discovery.
Discovery. All right. So
So I say we do the randomizer now.
I agree because then that gives us time to watch it.
Yeah, well, that might be important.
Randomizer Star Trek. All right. So here we go. All right.
Real
So
morality.
turn. All right, Discovery. What do we got? Let's see here. It says season 2, episode 6, The Sound of Thunder. I'm checking
Oh,
our
okay.
list. I'm
All
checking our
right.
list to make sure we don't have that. I did catch up our list as well. So
We have not done this.
yes, we have not. Yep, we have not done it. So the week after that, we will do The Sound of Thunder, episode 6 of season 2 from Discovery.
Mhm.
All right. Brennan, where can the people find you?
Well, you can find me on X at Brennan Mystical. You can find me on Threads and Instagram at Brennan Blue. You can find this podcast under Page Turners They Were Not on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
And of course, you could find me on Twitch and Twitter at Ingle1984. But as always, we end every episode. What's that? All right, I'm sorry. I tried to jump scare. It was awful.
And it didn't work.
Kind of like jump scares in this episode. Anyway, we end every episode. Blah, and live long and prosper.
Peace and long life. And I must add, winter is coming.
It is coming.